Can you tell me a little bit about your GSD journey?
So, it's a lot of places to start, but I was diagnosed at 1 years old. Um, and um, it was a really, really long struggle, I'd say, until I met Dr. Weinstein, which I was at 12 when I met Dr. Weinstein. But in between that, I kept having to my parents kept switching doctors for me. I had a G tube because I couldn't like through the night. I needed, constant basically feeding to keep my blood sugar up. And there was just a lot of sleepless nights for my parents and that sort of thing. It was just it was just a big struggle for them, honestly. I was just along for the ride and just a happy camper, but it was really tough for them to make sure that I was doing everything right. In terms of like cornstarch, it was a little strange to like looking back, it seems like strange, but I was using Propel, and I remember just putting cornstarch in a Propel bottle, and that's what I would use to get through a day at elementary school. So it was stuff like that. It was just very we just didn't have a plan, and it was unfortunate, but I'm fortunate enough to when once I received the plan for everything, we started working from there with Dr. Weinstein. So
I feel comfortable sharing what type of GSD do you have and what is the treatment for that?
Um, so I have GSD type 1A, and I take cornstarch basically every 3 hours. So if I were to start my day at 9 a.m., that I would have literally cornstarch every 3 hours, and I typically need carbohydrates about 45 minutes before my next dose of cornstarch, as well as protein with that. Sorry about that.
That's okay. What advice would you give to those who are newly diagnosed?
Who are what diagnosed?
Newly diagnosed.
A new so I mean, for like the parents, especially like hopefully you're finding out when they're really young, ideally. um I would say that you just have to keep like monitoring blood sugar levels and see what works, because not everything works for everyone. But once you maybe like whoever has GSD, once they can really start to tell you what's like working and what isn't, in terms of like how they can reflect on like their basically like their feeling of their body, that's when things will like start to get better. But one big thing that I kind of had like an issue with growing up was honestly like the feeling like I needed to like hide it, like there was something wrong with me, that sort of thing. So it was very kind of strange, like I didn't ever want to talk about it. Sometimes I still don't talk about it because it's not always necessary. I do what I got to do. I don't care if I don't care if I take my cornstarch in front of people. It's no big deal for me. But still, some people are like, "Oh, you drinking protein?" I was like, "Yeah." Some people make jokes about it. I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. I've heard that 1,000 times." I don't really care at this point. But to get to that place, it could be a little bit of a journey for sure.
Have you ever faced adversity with GSD or felt like you were treated or looked at as different?
Mm, so a little bit, but not probably not for like the right reason, probably because of whatever I was thinking in my own mind. So mostly I would say that because of dealing with GSD growing up, it's very easy to like it still is very easy to put on weight very fast because of how many calories it actually does eat up in my day. So I start my day off being that like with all my medicine or my cornstarch included for the day, I start my day, it's like 1,365 calories. So if I don't eat anything for the whole day, I'm still you like taking in 1,300 calories. So if I want to regulate my calories and stay in a calorie deficit or surplus, whatever I want to do, it has to base around that. So that's not very much eating it. Like for example, like a cut, like it's you could eat like 1,700 calories for a good cut. That's a pretty solid cut if you're really looking to lose a lot of weight. But so growing up, I didn't know that, and I didn't understand that, and I always constantly felt like I didn't know how to lose weight. So I was insecure about that. So the only adversity I kind of got was really my lack of confidence from that moving forward in like certain things. So
Outside of the Facebook page and the annual conference that happens in the US, what would you like to see happen within the GSD community?
Um, so within the okay, let me think. So honestly, my big thing is like treatment. I really, really, really want to see like essentially like a cure, which may not be fully possible right now. I know that they're working on a lot of different treatments, and was partially part of some, but things kind of like ended up falling apart like last second before I fully got into it. And looking back, I'm kind of glad that I actually like things played out the way that they did because I think there's a lot of things like within myself where um basically things weren't adding up and I was feeling a bit like not weird about GSD, but like I couldn't accomplish certain things. And when I got kind of turned down from like the certain treatment I was going for, it was really eye-opening because it was the clearest thought I've ever had of exactly what I wanted to do, like with my life, kind of in like a way of like how I really, really, really want to carry myself, right? So I already was like believing that it was not like a limiting factor, but ever since that moment, it has been like the most probably like just I don't think of it as a limiting factor at all. Now that goes with a grain of salt. Some days are good. Some days you just have like random low blood sugars. So some it's just tough sometimes. But biggest change I would say is like a real cure where it's like I really don't have to worry about it and I don't have to worry about like eating sugar. Not that I want to go eat a bunch of cake or whatever, but it's like I wish I could have a beer with my friends and not think about the repercussions on my liver. You know what I mean? That's like a big thing to me. It's like not about like abusing alcohol or anything. It's like that social aspect of like eating sugar because it does set you apart. No, no matter what you like could think in your mind, oh, it doesn't matter. No, it sets you apart when everyone, when you're at work and your boss brings in cookies that his wife baked and like everyone's trying one and you decide not to try one because you don't want to hurt your liver that way. So something ideally where I just cured. I would just love it. But I don't believe it's a limiting factor for sure.
Is there anything else you would like to share today?
Hmm. I would say I think I read a lot of comments and stuff on like on the GSD Facebook page. And I just noticed that a lot of people it seems like a lot of people are struggling with the disease and management of the disease. And if you're like, I mean, not to say that you couldn't get full control at like 16 years old. I definitely did not have that great of control at 16. Um, but if you're like in that range, like I would say like 16 to maybe like 20, you really, really can transform your life just by literally counting every single thing that you eat and making like just analyzing everything about the way that you eat and keeping track of your blood sugars to like a next level. So if you did something like I personally don't use a Dexcom, I use a Libre 2. I use it I don't use it too often. Use it like I try to use it like once every 2 months, but I do check my blood sugar with the Freestyle Light. And I do make sure that I know where I'm at. And if I notice that I start to notice it takes longer for me to notice like blood sugar drops, that sort of thing, I will start checking my sugar and making sure I'm getting back into the pattern. Because once you get out of the pattern and you start to dwell in like low blood sugar zone, you become tolerant to it. So you don't feel it so like, in my opinion, you don't really feel low blood sugar anyway. You just feel the change in it. So if you can keep yourself like mentally clear enough to where you can always feel those drops and those sort of things, it will definitely like you can guide yourself into the right direction as to like how to care for yourself in terms of like the way you eat and everything with it with like carbohydrates and that sort of thing. So I would just say like if you really pay attention to everything you feel and you can write it down with numbers, you'll start to notice patterns within yourself. And if you feel like you can't notice those patterns within yourself, but you have the documents of it, it might be very wise to go someone like to a metabolic nutritionist who works with one of these GSD doctors and say, "Hey, look, here's all my information. Let's figure out what patterns are happening. I want to get better treatment, that sort of thing." But honestly, on the path of getting all that information, you'll probably figure out what really works for you and what doesn't. So,
Thank you for your time today.
absolutely.